So your bank account is, it's lying to you.
Completely lying to me.
Right. Like you log in, you see the balance is higher than it was last year, and your brain just gives you this little hit of dopamine. You feel like you're winning.
Oh, absolutely. It's that immediate validation.
Exactly. But what if that growing number is actually masking the fact that you are getting poorer every single day?
Well, that is, it's basically the ultimate modern financial paradox, honestly.
Yeah.
You are objectively adding money to a pile. You're doing everything you were taught to do, yet subjectively, and, well, mathematically too, your actual security is just eroding.
Welcome to today's deep dive.
Yeah.
We're looking at a really fascinating piece of source material today. It's an author's raw, deeply reflective manuscript.
Yeah, specifically their personal notes for the introduction of a new book, which is titled Why I Wrote This Book.
Right. And our mission today is to follow this author's very messy, very real journey, going from acute financial anxiety to building genuine, lasting resilience.
And I want to set expectations for you listening right up front. This is not some get-rich-quick manifesto.
Definitely not.
Right. The author isn't selling a secret trading algorithm or anything. It's a grounded look at how incredibly fast the modern financial world changes.
Yeah, and why the traditional inherited ideas about money that we all grew up with might actually be the exact things keeping us in a state of constant low-level panic.
Exactly.
So the journey starts with this inciting incident that I think we can all relate to.
Oh, for sure.
The author is sitting there doing the classic year-over-year comparison of their savings account, and the nominal number, the actual digits on the screen had gone up. They had saved more money.
But instead of relief, it triggered this nagging, persistent feeling that something was just fundamentally wrong.
Like a gut feeling.
Yeah, a gut feeling. They realized that looking at an isolated number is kind of an illusion if you don't anchor it to reality. So they started doing some very sobering math. They stopped looking at the balance and started calculating what that exact pile of money could actually buy in the real world today compared to, say, a few years ago.
They were testing their purchasing power.
Exactly. They looked at physical assets first, like how many grams of gold could this savings balance buy today versus back then?
Okay, yeah.
Then they looked at stronger anchor currencies. If they converted their local currency into Singapore dollars or SGD, what was the actual value?
Which is a great test.
It really is. And most practically, how many months of day-to-day living expenses did this balance cover now compared to 3 years ago?
And the realization was brutal. Their purchasing power hadn't increased at all.
Not even a little bit.
Right. Even though the bank balance was undeniably larger, the actual utility of that money, what it could actually do for them, was stagnant, or in some cases even shrinking.
Yeah.
It's like trying to build a house, but every year the manufacturer shaves an inch off your measuring tape.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
Right. You're still measuring 10 feet of wood, but the actual physical wood you are holding is getting shorter and shorter.
And you're just standing there wondering why the house won't stand up. The nominal number on your tape measure is the same, but the physical reality has completely changed.
Yeah.
This really highlights a cognitive bias we all struggle with, The human brain just loves simplicity.
Oh, definitely.
A number is absolute. It's easy to understand. 10,000 is more than 5,000. We process that instantly.
It's just a high score in a video game at that point.
Right. But purchasing power is relative. It requires you to factor in these invisible moving variables like inflation, currency devaluation, rising cost of goods, macroeconomic policy.
All the stuff that makes your head spin.
Exactly. Our brains aren't naturally built to run real-time inflation adjustments every single time we look at an ATM receipt. We just see the bigger number, the dopamine hits, and we think, okay, we're safe.
So we are basically running on a treadmill.
Yeah, that's exactly what it feels like.
Like the digital display on the console is flashing, telling you that you've run 3 miles. But when you look around, you're still in the exact same spot in the gym.
And getting tired.
Yes. And worse, the treadmill keeps speeding up. This led the author to a massive revelation. Simply working hard and saving, which is the ultimate old-school formula for safety our parents hammered into us, is just no longer enough.
No, it's not. The author recognized that the baseline cost of living is on this constant upward trajectory, and broader economic conditions feel increasingly fragile.
Yeah.
You can't just put money in a vault and assume it will retain its energy, so to speak.
Which brings us to the core thesis of their entire book, really. They realized that earning money and maintaining the value of that money are two completely different games.
Entirely different skill sets.
Yeah.
Earning money is your offense. It's your labor, your business, your time.
Right.
Maintaining the value of that money is your defense. And the author explicitly notes in the manuscript they are not an economist.
No, not at all.
They aren't some big institutional investor. They are just a regular person trying to ensure that the 10 hours of labor they put in today will still buy them 10 hours worth of goods 10 years from now.
I hear a phrase like maintaining value, though, and I have to admit, it sounds a little bit like a finance bro euphemism for day trading so I can buy a Lamborghini.
Yeah, I can see how it sounds like that.
Right. How does the author separate this philosophy of defense from the really loud, aggressive trading advice we see plastered all over the internet?
The distinction is purely in the end goal and the relationship to risk.
Okay.
The aggressive trading advice you see online is almost always about maximizing returns. It's about beating the market, finding the next big crypto coin, or, leveraging options to multiply your money as fast as possible.
Yeah, which is exhausting.
And it inherently requires taking on significant, sometimes ruinous risks.
You're trying to predict the future.
Yes, exactly. Maintaining value, in the author's context, is about risk mitigation. They aren't trying to buy a yacht. They are trying to ensure their savings can still buy groceries when inflation inevitably spikes.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
They're trying to build a fortress, not a casino.
And building that fortress is not a clean, easy process. When you read the author's notes, their actual journey was super messy.
Oh, incredibly messy.
It stands in stark contrast to the sheer volume of noise in modern finance.
The modern financial world is just deafening. Everywhere you turn, there are conflicting opinions on social media, doom-scrolling predictions about impending economic collapse.
Right, the sky is always falling.
Always. Plus, the newest investment trends you supposedly must jump on, and this immense, crushing societal pressure to constantly look successful.
It's all weaponized to make you feel like you were already behind.
It really is. And the author is refreshingly honest about falling right into those traps. They didn't start out with perfect financial zen. They admit to making plenty of mistakes while navigating this noise.
And one of the biggest mistakes they highlight is keeping way too much of their money strictly in their local currency, the Indonesian rupiah.
Right.
For anyone listening who might not follow global forex markets, what is the specific danger of holding all your wealth in emerging market currency like that?
It comes back to the shrinking measuring tape. Emerging market currencies, like the rupiah, are often more susceptible to inflation and sudden devaluation compared to global anchor currencies like the US dollar or the Singapore dollar.
Okay, so they're just more volatile.
Exactly. If a global crisis hits, or if local economic policies shift, the purchasing power of that local currency can drop rapidly on the world stage. So you could have 1 billion rupiah in the bank, but if the currency devalues, your ability to buy imported goods, travel, or access international markets shrinks literally overnight.
Wow. So the author essentially realized their life savings were tied to the fate of a single, highly volatile economic engine.
Yes.
But even when they realized this, they admit they were terrified to actually start investing.
Yeah.
It was massive paralysis.
Which is entirely rational. When you have worked hard to earn your offense, your savings, putting it on the line in complex financial instruments feels terrifying.
Yeah, and when they finally did force themselves to start, they ran headfirst into the psychological torment of floating losses.
Oh, that is the worst.
We've all been there. You put money into an investment app, the market dips, you check your phone, and the numbers are suddenly red.
Yep.
You're physically holding your phone, feeling your heart rate spike, wondering if you just ruined your life.
And if you need to panic sell everything before it goes to zero.
Exactly. That panic is exactly what the financial noise feeds on.
It really is. Floating losses are agonizing because they feel like permanent failures, even though they are just temporary market fluctuations.
Right.
The author spent a lot of time feeling deeply confused, just reacting to the market instead of sticking to a plan.
But out of all those mistakes, like the currency exposure, the paralysis, the panic over floating losses, came their central realization. Building real resilience is far more important than trying to outsmart the market or look rich.
Absolutely.
So if the bank account is essentially a leaky bucket and trying to day trade is just a casino, where did the author actually put their money to patch the holes?
This is where we get into the mechanics of the specific, practical toolkit the author had to adopt. Because, as they point out, a hard truth we all have to face is that real life is not a perpetual bull market.
Real life has plot twists.
Exactly. Industries change, people get laid off, inflation spikes unexpectedly, a global pandemic happens.
Yeah, uncertainties arrive completely unannounced.
Right. To survive these inevitable plot twists, the author discovered the absolute necessity of building a diverse structural defense.
They lay out a very specific list of tools.
Mhm.
Emergency funds, physical gold, foreign exchange, which they refer to as values in the notes, global ETFs, and bonds. The goal isn't to get rich quick, but to build a healthier financial system. So let's dig into the mechanics of this, starting with the baseline, the emergency fund.
Okay, so the emergency fund is your immediate shock absorber. It's highly liquid cash. You don't care if it's losing a tiny bit to inflation because its purpose isn't to grow.
Right.
Its purpose is to be there at 2 a.m. when your car breaks down or you suddenly need to cover a medical bill. It keeps you from having to sell your actual investments at a loss just to survive a Tuesday.
Okay, that makes total sense. But then we get into the currency issue again. The author mentions holding physical gold and volus, foreign exchange. Wait, hold on. Buying foreign currency?
Yeah.
I thought currency trading was exactly the high-risk, predictive noise the author was trying to avoid.
That's a great point, but it's a crucial distinction. The author is not advocating for Forex day trading, where you are highly leveraged, trying to guess if the euro will drop a fraction of a cent by tomorrow afternoon.
Okay, good.
They are talking about hedging.
Hedging against their local currency.
Right. They are taking a portion of their wealth and parking it in historically stable assets, like gold or the Singapore dollar. They aren't doing this to make a 20% profit.
Right, it's defense.
Exactly. They're doing this to ensure that if their local currency experiences a severe devaluation, a portion of their purchasing power remains completely untouched by that specific localized crisis.
It's like the watertight compartment on a ship.
Exactly. If one compartment floods, the ship doesn't go down.
Let's talk about the next compartment. Global ETFs, or exchange-traded funds. For someone who doesn't spend their day reading the Wall Street Journal, how does an ETF actually provide resilience compared to just buying stocks?
An ETF essentially lets you buy a tiny slice of the entire pie, rather than betting your life savings on one specific apple.
Okay, I like that.
Instead of trying to guess if company A or company B is going to succeed next year, which is basically gambling, a global ETF allows you to own a microscopic fraction of thousands of companies across the entire world.
So you are betting on the general upward trajectory of human progress and global commerce, rather than the quarterly earnings report of one tech CEO.
Precisely. It mathematically dilutes your risk. If one company goes bankrupt, or even if one entire country experiences a recession, your portfolio doesn't get wiped out because the rest of the global economy is holding it up.
And finally, they mentioned bonds. Why are bonds included in this resilience toolkit?
Because bonds operate on a completely different mechanism than stocks. When you buy a stock or an ETF, you are an owner, which means you absorb the volatility of the market.
Right.
When you buy a bond, you are a lender. You are lending your money to a government or a highly stable corporation for a set period of time, and in exchange, they legally promise to pay you a fixed amount of interest.
So while the stock market is having wild mood swings, the bond is just sitting there quietly generating a predictable return.
Yes. When it's raining on the stock market, your bonds are holding steady. Again, watertight compartments.
Yeah.
You combine the shock absorber of the emergency fund, the hedge of gold and foreign currency, the global growth of ETFs, and the steady anchor of bonds.
I'm looking at this list, though. Gold, values, global ETFs, bonds, and honestly, that sounds exhausting for someone who just works a normal 9-to-5 job and has kids to feed.
Oh, completely.
Like, does the author expect everyone listening to suddenly become a Wall Street portfolio manager tracking global markets across 6 different monitors?
The author anticipates exactly that reaction, and their answer is a resounding no. You don't need to be tracking daily fluctuations. The entire point of this toolkit is to set it up so you absolutely don't have to look at 6 monitors.
You are building a machine that runs in the background.
Exactly. And this leads to the most important pivot in the manuscript. Because the author realizes that a list of financial tools can sound incredibly intimidating, they explicitly step back from the mechanics of the tools.
Right.
And they address your unique situation as a listener.
They really stress that they are not a guru. There's no one-size-fits-all master plan here.
Which is so rare in financial writing. The author openly acknowledges that their specific mix of ETFs, or the exact percentage of gold they hold, might be completely wrong for you.
Yeah, everyone's life is different.
Exactly. You have different living conditions, you might have dependents to care for, you have a completely different psychological tolerance for risk.
Your treadmill is running at a different speed.
Precisely. And the author says that is perfectly fine. The goal isn't to copy their exact portfolio. The goal is to adopt their cognitive shift.
So if the exact tools don't matter as much as the mindset, how does shifting the goalpost from getting rich to achieving peace actually change the small daily financial decisions a person makes?
It fundamentally changes your timeline. When your goal is getting rich, you are looking for short-term leaps. You are looking for a hot tip.
Right, you're chasing things.
Yeah, you are susceptible to the noise and the dopamine hits of nominal numbers. But when your goal is resilience and peace, the pressure just evaporates.
Because you aren't trying to beat anyone else's high score.
You are just trying to buy flexibility. The author emphasizes that building this kind of structural security doesn't require massive amounts of money right away. It's not about waiting for a huge windfall or an inheritance.
It starts with incredibly boring, small habits.
It's the simple, unglamorous decision to automatically route a tiny percentage of your paycheck into an emergency fund before you even see it.
Yeah.
It's the courage to start thinking in time horizons of 5, 10, or 20 years down the line instead of agonizing over what the market did at 3 p.m. today. It's the slow, steady accumulation of safety.
It's basically moving away from trying to predict the future and instead just preparing for the fact that the future will definitely have surprises.
Yep.
You are building a life structure where an unexpected plot twist is just an inconvenience rather than an existential crisis.
And that is the true definition of financial resilience. You're insulating your peace of mind from the chaos of the macroeconomic environment.
I love that. To bring this all together, I want to look at how the author summarizes this entire philosophy. You have a quote from the manuscript that I think anchors this perfectly.
Yes, the author writes this near the end of their notes, and it really serves as the thesis for everything we've discussed. They say, the ultimate goal is not just numbers, but a sense of enough, a sense of security and peace in living life.
A sense of enough. That is an incredibly subversive concept in a modern financial system that is built entirely on telling us we constantly need more.
It really is.
When you think about the journey we've tracked today, it's a profound shift. We started with that deep anxiety of looking at a growing bank account, but realizing the numbers were essentially a mirage, shrinking in real-world purchasing power.
The realization of the shrinking tape measure.
Right. Then we waded through the noise of the internet, the panic of floating losses, and the very real mistakes of holding all your risk in one place. And finally, we arrived at a completely redefined version of wealth, backed by a toolkit of watertight compartments.
Because for this author, financial freedom has absolutely nothing to do with early retirement on a beach or buying luxury cars.
No.
It simply means having a foundation strong enough that you don't have to carry the weight of financial anxiety into your daily life.
It's showing the scoreboard might fluctuate, but you are not going to lose the game.
That is the ultimate return on investment.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with something to ponder today, long after you take your headphones off. Think back to that opening idea of your bank account balance giving you a hit of dopamine, like a video game score going up.
Right.
If your bank account somehow magically doubled tomorrow, but your daily anxiety, your stress, and your fear of the future doubled right along with it, would you actually be any richer?
It really forces you to define what wealth actually means to you.
Take a moment today to consider what your personal metric for peace actually is, completely outside of the numbers blinking on a screen. Because sometimes recognizing that you are on a treadmill is the only way you can finally decide to step off and start walking toward actual freedom.